Ethan Ward carried the weight of an uneventful day, a feeling he couldn't quite place. The muted afternoon light cast long shadows in his apartment, as if anticipating a significant turn of events. He'd taken extra care with his appearance that evening, meticulously ironing his shirt and ensuring his hair was perfectly in place. Tonight held the promise of a fresh start, a chance to break free from years of quiet solitude. Then came the jarring buzz of his phone, shattering the fragile anticipation. The message was terse and final. Asterisk, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Asterisk, no explanation, no elaboration, just the blunt cancellation of their blind date. Ethan exited the restaurant, a strange cocktail of disappointment and resignation swirling within him. He wasn't angry. Life had taught him that people carry burdens unseen by others. Yet, an inexplicable instinct tugged at him, pulling him toward the periphery of the parking lot instead of back to his waiting car. Perhaps he simply needed a moment to clear his head. Or maybe, subconsciously, he sensed that the evening held more than met the eye. The air outside was balmy, the sky awash in soft golds and muted oranges. Cars streamed past, ferrying families home after dinners and weekend errands. But one particular scene pierced through the ordinary, halting him in his tracks. Near the far end of the lot, a woman sat slumped against a navy blue SUV, her body racked with silent sobs. Two young children, a boy around 5 and a girl perhaps 4, huddled beside her, their faces etched with confusion and concern. Their clothing, though clean, showed signs of wear, and the woman's blouse was slightly rumpled, as if she had made a valiant effort to appear composed. But life, it seemed, had other plans. Ethan didn't recognize her, or at least he didn't think he did. Yet, something about her features, the cascade of chestnut waves framing her face, the soft blue of her shirt, triggered a sudden jolt of recognition. He'd seen her picture just hours before. This was Claire Bennett, his would-be date, now crumbling in the parking lot with her children clinging to her for solace. Hesitation washed over him. He didn't want to intrude, yet the sight of her trembling hands and tear-streaked cheeks propelled him forward. In that moment, formalities dissolved, replaced by an unspoken understanding between strangers, a recognition that life sometimes throws people together precisely when they need it most. Claire looked up, her eyes swollen and red, surprise flickering across her face as she recognized him. Shame, almost fear, clouded her features, and Ethan felt a pang of empathy in his chest. She looked like someone who dreaded being a burden, someone who desperately wanted to hold it together. As she struggled to regain her composure, Ethan understood, without the need for explanation, that she hadn't canceled because she had changed her mind about meeting him. She'd canceled because something had gone terribly wrong, and she lacked the strength to maintain the facade of normalcy. He sat down a respectful distance away, the warm asphalt grounding him. Claire began to speak, her voice trembling, a torrent of apologies interspersed with ragged breaths. Ethan gently shook his head, not dismissing her, not rejecting her, but offering silent reassurance that she didn't need to justify her pain. He saw the profound exhaustion in her eyes, the heartbreak she tried to conceal for her children's sake, and he felt the weight of her story before she even uttered it. As minutes drifted by, Claire's defenses slowly crumbled. With raw honesty, she revealed her truth. She had been a single mother for the past 3 years, ever since her husband had abandoned them for another life, another woman, another version of himself. She had worked tirelessly to build a stable home for her children, juggling 2 jobs and night classes in pursuit of a better future. After years of convincing herself she didn't deserve happiness, she had hesitantly agreed to a blind date set up by a mutual friend. Then, as she was heading out the door, her babysitter canceled at the last minute, leaving her with no choice but to bring her children along while she frantically tried to figure things out. Sitting in the parking lot, her heart pounding, her children in the back seat peppering her with innocent questions, she realized she couldn't walk into a fancy restaurant like that. She couldn't pretend to be carefree, polished, or date-ready. So she'd canceled. But after sending the message, she'd fallen apart, overwhelmed by a crushing wave of guilt, loneliness, and the relentless pressure to remain strong. Ethan listened intently, the the sincerity in her words enveloping them like the deepening twilight. She wasn't weak. She was utterly drained. She wasn't being dramatic. She was stretched to her breaking point from carrying everything alone. Something within Ethan shifted, a profound understanding blossoming in his chest. He realized she hadn't canceled because she didn't want him. She'd canceled because she didn't want to disappoint him. All he felt was admiration. Not pity, but genuine admiration. As the sun dipped further below the horizon, casting long, soft shadows across the parking lot, Claire's children began to warm up to Ethan. Lucas, the little boy, offered him a half-melted chocolate from his pocket, which Ethan accepted as if it were a priceless treasure. Emily, the little girl, proudly showed him the butterfly design on her sneakers. They no longer saw him as a stranger. They saw him as someone safe, someone gentle, someone who didn't make their mother cry. Ethan suggested a simple, comforting alternative to the upscale restaurant, a nearby family diner, somewhere bright, warm, and welcoming, where children could laugh without judgment, and where no one cared if life wasn't perfect. Claire hesitated, fearing she was imposing, but the hopeful glint in her children's eyes swayed her. Inside the diner, the atmosphere softened. The aroma of fries and warm bread filled the air, mingling with the cheerful clatter of plates and conversation. Lucas and Emily colored on the children's menus, while Claire slowly gathered herself, watching Ethan with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. He didn't treat her like an obligation. He didn't act inconvenienced or disappointed. He acted like someone who was exactly where he wanted to be. As the evening progressed, something delicate and unexpected began to take shape. Not romance, not yet, but something deeper. Respect, connection, a fragile yet powerful sense of hope. Claire confessed her deepest fears about raising children alone. The constant worry that she wasn't enough. Her yearning to be seen as a woman with dreams, not just a struggling mother. Ethan understood more than she could have imagined. He shared his own experiences with loneliness, how the loss of his parents had left his family home feeling hollow, how he longed for a life filled with laughter, responsibility, and purpose, not just routines and empty rooms. They weren't two broken individuals trying to fix each other. They were two incomplete worlds finding a way to gently connect. Hours flew by unnoticed. When they finally returned to the parking lot, the sky was a deep, star-studded blue. Claire buckled her children into their car seats, whispering goodnight kisses, while Ethan stood nearby, unsure of what to say, yet knowing that the evening had irrevocably altered something within them both. Before Claire closed the door, Emily reached out and handed Ethan her crayon drawing. A stick-figure family holding hands beneath a radiant sun. 4 figures instead of 3. Claire froze, mortified, but Ethan's eyes softened as he carefully folded the drawing and tucked it into his pocket with quiet reverence. Sometimes, children perceive the future long before adults do. Standing beneath the glow of the streetlight, Claire whispered that she had never expected such kindness from a stranger during her most vulnerable moment. Ethan simply replied that she had been strong for too long, and that tonight someone else could be strong for her. The weeks that followed unfolded slowly, warmly, filled with simple moments that wove their lives together. Not dramatic gestures or grand declarations, just consistent presence. Ethan helped Claire with grocery shopping when her schedule was overwhelming. Claire invited him to Lucas's school art show. Emily insisted he attend her ballet practice, where she twirled clumsily but proudly for him. Each time, Claire watched with quiet amazement, realizing that this wasn't fleeting kindness. This was a man who showed up. One evening, after a particularly long day, Claire asked Ethan why he stayed, why he cared so deeply. He answered in the simplest, most honest way. Because love isn't about timing or perfection. It's about choosing someone, even when life is messy. Because your children felt like home before I even understood why. Because your tears in that parking lot showed me your strength, not your weakness. As Claire leaned gently into him, the children laughing nearby, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safety, partnership, hope. Sometimes the most beautiful stories begin at the very moment everything seems to be falling apart. And sometimes, A canceled date is just destiny clearing the path for something far more meaningful.